Welcome, friends, to another episode of Dan Tremblay Music. Today, I'm really excited to share about a project that I've been working on with a fairly prominent composer who resides right here in Canada. Christopher Norton is his name. Originally born in New Zealand, he also spent quite a bit of time in the UK, and now he finds his home in Ontario. I had the pleasure of meeting him and his lovely wife a few years ago at an award ceremony for Conservatory Canada. My youngest daughter had won an award, and we wanted to meet him afterwards, as most of, not all of my students that I've taught over the past decade have played numerous songs by Christopher Norton. He's a fantastic composer. So I was very familiar with his piano books, which are used primarily for teaching piano education. But I didn't necessarily know a whole lot about him and his life. So long story short, I was invited by Gloria Saint-Germain, who is a very successful entrepreneur, heads up her own e-commerce site and YouTube channel, all dedicated to music theory. I will link it below. A lovely lady from Western Canada, Winnipeg, I believe. And she invited me to this composer forum, and lo and behold, who was there but Christopher Norton. So it was an online Zoom call with a bunch of composers from all over the world. It was a very incredible opportunity for me to meet all of these different composers from all different walks of life, some of them extremely successful composers. And you know, I'm always aspiring towards that degree or that level of success. Christopher Norton was there. I think I was probably going on and on about Spitfire audio, like I always do, because I love the sample library so much, as you guys know, because you watch it, as you watch this channel. And you know, he followed up with an email a short time afterwards. That turned into a meeting, and then a series of meetings. And next thing you know, I'm doing this project with him. Actually, a couple different projects with him, which is a real honor for me. And it's been a lot of fun, and I get paid for it. So what can I say? You know, I'm doing what I love, and I get paid for it. Working with Christopher Norton, who's been composing for years. And one of the meetings, he just casually mentioned that, oh yeah, I used to work with Rupert Williams and Harry Gregson Williams. My jaw dropped on the floor, because anyone knows about anything about film composition, you'll know those two names. So basically, I guess what that means is that I know Hans Zimmer. No. It doesn't mean that at all. It's kidding. I'm kidding. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. So today I'm going to do a run-through, a quick little run-through of the project that I'm working on with him right now. And then we'll have some final thoughts. Let's get to it. Okay, so the project that I was referring to in our little opening intro, which got a little long-winded, my apologies, is so Christopher Norton has just composed just a massive catalog of piano books, just a ton of piano music. And he also likes to include with those backing tracks. So students can have the music in front of them with the books, they can play along, and they can also play with these full band backing tracks, which is just a way more fun way of practicing. It's better for the student, it's better for the teacher. And these backing tracks are not just thrown together. There is a lot of thought and a lot of programming that has gone into them. So he has a series of books, 3 books that I have begun work on. So there's 90 songs so far between the 3 books, so 30 per book. I think I'm at about, maybe out of the 90, I'm at maybe track 17. So it's come along nicely. So what I'm doing is I'm taking all the original programming and all the original MIDI files, and I just import them right into the project. So this is what I did. This track is already done, but I thought I'd kind of go through it here and go through what I did. So This is all done remotely. So Mr. Norton lives in Stratford, Ontario, I think. I'm in Ottawa, Ontario. So I don't know how much of a difference that is driving wise, but I'm assuming it's like a good 5 hours. So, but you know, us musicians, composers, we, working remotely from our shed, as it likes to be called. This is what we do. It's COVID really has had no impact in terms of, I mean, it's had lots of impacts worldwide, but on this type of work can be done very easily remotely. So he set up a file folder for me in Dropbox. I grab the files. I import two things. I import the original MIDI data, and I import the wave final mix, the original mix. And then I bring both of those into Logic. Okay, so this is the, so I literally just grab them from here. I download them as a computer and I import them into Logic. If you don't know how to do that, there's a billion different ways you can do it, but I literally just go up to this little, I don't know, this little doodad here, go to my drive file, everything's named, and I just click on whatever it is. In this case, we're doing disco number 2, because I thought this was a super fun one to show you. Click on the MIDI and I import, and boom, here's all the MIDI data. I've already done that, so I'm not going to redo it. And then there is the wave file, and there's the wave file right there. Oh, there you go. It's going to start playing for you. Oh, it's playing for you over here. Okay. So I just, first two things I do. Now, in past videos, I've talked about how I don't ever have a template, which is true when I'm composing. So if I'm composing, I like to start with from absolute scratch, from nothing. But this is not a composition project. This is more of a mixing / production kind of project. I'm going to turn off my monitors. I had to turn off my monitors there. Sorry, getting a little buzz going on there. It was driving me nuts, probably because the cell phone was right in front of the speakers. Really bad place for it, but whatever. It is what it is. So yeah, it's not a composition project. It is primarily a mixing project. So what I go to do is I go through the original data, and the first thing I do is before I do anything else, I listen to the original wave file. So let's do that right now. And do I dance while I'm doing this? Yeah, actually I do. Just for the beginning. If I've been working on it for a long time, then maybe I dance a little bit less. But this is a super fun one. So yeah, you gotta enjoy, you gotta love what you do. I love what I do. So that is the original wave file. Okay, so that's the first thing I do. So I have a really good sense of, okay, what is this supposed to sound like? Okay, now, so what is the idea? Why are we doing this? Well, we just want to take all that existing data and we just want to make it bigger, fuller, fresher. Okay, so how do we do that? We do that with samples. Okay, so most of the stuff was probably done with stock plugins from Logic, which, by the way, sometimes I keep some of those because sometimes they're really good. Okay, so what we're not manipulating the data in terms of changing the arrangement. We're taking what's already there because it is beautifully programmed already, and there's just a wealth of information in there. All of the faders and the slides, and the guitar parts and the the vibrato. It's all there. It's all been programmed in there. So I'm just replacing the samples, giving it a remix. Applying some compression and a little bit of EQ, a little bit of reverb when it's needed, and then running it through Ozone and spitting out a final mix. and I'll play that final mix in a second. So if we go back, so this is the this original WAV file, and then this is the original MIDI file. Okay, so we have our first one. This I think is just like a naming kind of convention. I'm not sure. Probably somebody probably knows what this is, so I don't need that. As you can see, there's no data in there, so I lose it. First track is almost always a drum track. I'm not sure why this is, but it defaults to the grand piano. But I know through working with MIDI that this is the drum track. So I literally just take that drum track and I drag it up into a new file, and I keep the existing plugins down there in case I need to reference them, see if there's any processing that's been done in those, so I can try to match the original sounds. Because again, I'm not trying to change the sounds, I'm not trying to change the arrangement, I'm just trying to take what's there and just to make it bigger and fuller is the best way that I can describe it. Because some of these old samples, the way they're put together, everything could sound kind of thin. So we're trying to put some meat on the bones, I guess you could say. So that's the drum track. So primarily what I've been using for drums is my Stephen Slate kit. Stephen Slate drums 5. There's probably even a 6 now. I'm not even sure, to be honest with you. I haven't had a good chance to use a lot of this, so this is a perfect project for this because it's even categorized down by genres, and there's just a ton of kits. You can just go nuts with this thing. I don't mix around with the I don't fool around with the mixer too much. I do most of the stuff within Logic. Now normally, depending on the project, I would take that drum track and I would spit it out into separate stems, you know, bass, snare, yada yada yada. But this project is, you know, there's a decent budget to it, but it's a per song budget. So if I take, you know, I could work on some of these for, you know, days. If I take days, I ain't gonna be making a whole lot of money. So it's always a balance between being efficient but still making things sound really good. So, you know, it's a balance. How far do you go? You know, that's always the fine line. But you just, again, like anything else, you just trust your ears. So I replace the track. Now, sometimes when I'm moving these tracks around, the MIDI data will include a lot of other instrumentation. So, for instance, if there's other percussion files, there could be, you know, there could be conga in there and bongos and all kinds of stuff. So I'll have to kind of go through the drum arrangement, and the notes won't always map correctly. Quite often they don't. So I have to, you know, a lot of dragging and dropping, a lot of working in the, you know, I think this is called the piano scroll kind of section of Logic, of a lot of moving stuff around. So primarily I'm working in kind of this environment, moving stuff around. So I kind of get that figured out, and then I just replace track by track. Okay, so there's the drums, and then once I do, then I'm like, okay, I've got the drums, I'm gonna take that out of there. We get our string file. Okay, so there's one, as you can see, there's one string part. I've broken it down into 3 parts. Okay, so this is your Logic stock string ensemble, which, by the way, some extremely popular artists have done very well with the Logic string sound. So, you know, you can knock it all you want, but there's big name artists who have made big name songs using stock Logic songs. I say it all the time, use what you have. Of course, I have a lot of Spitfire Audio samples. If you're watching this channel, you know that I love Spitfire Audio, especially for strings. So of course I'm going to use, you know, the libraries that I have. So there's a combination in here, as you can see, of long and short notes. Okay, so if you know anything about the sample libraries and the way that they're divided, you know that I can't just drag and drop. I can't just open a patch in the Spitfire Audio library and just drag and drop that in there and it's going to work. No, it's not. Each of those samples are broken down into separate patches. So of course we have our shorts. So I have 2 different shorts. I'm not sure why I create a second patch here. That might be because I can't remember why I had to do that. Some kind of thing I had to do that. And there's my longs. Okay, so I took the existing, I copied and pasted from the existing notation, and then just separated between the longs and the shorts, and then mixed it down so I had a really nice balance between those two. So what am I doing for, let's see what we got going on. What am I doing for the shorts and the longs? Is my system going to crash on me here? It's slow. It's angry with me because I'm also screen capturing at the same time. Okay, what are we using? We're using Albion 1. Okay, the short spiccatos. So Albion 1 was perfectly suitable for this project. So there you go. There's my shorts, there's my longs, and that's the strings. All right, so I take that, I'm like, okay, done. This is a stock Logic sound. It's called Pulse Bass, and I actually really liked it, and it sounded really good. So I literally just dragged it up into the project, tweaked it, mixed it, and I left it as it is. So if you have songs and parts that are already sounding good, you know, you have to ask yourself, well, should I change it? Well, if it already sounds good, why would you change it? If it already works for the track and it's held up nicely, why change? You know, don't. Okay, and then we're going to skip the piano and we're going to come back. This is the electric bass part. So and again, it's a stock Logic sound. So I replace that with my Cherry electric bass. Where is Cherry electric bass from? I can't remember now. What company does Cherry electric bass? But it's really good. It's a really good library. I apologize for not knowing what that is. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. And of course I tweak around with the settings and all that kind of stuff. Very, very nice electric bass sound. So that's that. And I can lose that. And then we have our piano parts, and they are generally always two parts broken down between you know, right and treble clef and bass clef, right hand and left hand. So the piano is where the fun begins, because Christopher Norton is a piano player. Christopher Norton is a world-renowned piano player who gets flown all over the world to give master classes. He's not just some guy off the street. So, you know, I got to really get the piano parts right. And so I think the first few tracks that we've done, the first couple, I have all kinds of piano libraries, and I was sending him stuff and sending him mixes, and he didn't like any of it. And I think that's pretty typical of how a project starts off. You know, he doesn't know me, you know, this project kind of fell on my lap practically. And, you know, this is his music and these are his parts, and he takes great care in what he does. And you have to respect that, and you have to respect how much effort has gone into it. The last thing you want to do is mess it up. So we kind of went back and forth a few times with the piano. I went through, I think, every piano library that I have. He didn't like any of the sounds. So the original sounds are the Logic stock sounds, which are not good. You know, Logic does a lot of things really well, but the stock piano library is not good. It is not passable in my mind. We finally agreed that it would probably be best if he had one particular piano library that he liked that I didn't have, and it wasn't that pricey, because again, you have to factor in the budget for these projects. You know, one of the things we started to run into is that I wanted to just go nuts. Let's go, oh, I don't have a flute, let's go buy a flute sample. I'm gonna get the drums. All of a sudden you're just eating up your budget, and the budget's not going up. It is what it is. So if I blow the whole budget on buying a whole bunch of other samples, guess what? There's nothing left. So I've had a lot of fun, and I've played with samples, but I haven't made any money. So again, it goes back to being efficient as a composer or a producer or a mixer or whatever it is that you're doing. Got to be efficient. That being said, I did purchase a couple of libraries, which he was gracious enough to reimburse me for. Thank you again, Mr. Norton. If I haven't thanked you enough, if you're watching this video, you're a busy guy. So what we ended up doing is I purchased the same library that he had, and that way I knew that I could set it up exactly what he was hearing. Okay, he's very, very particular, and he knows exactly what he wants things to sound like. There's not a whole lot of trepidation and head scratching going on. Okay, he knows exactly how he wants everything to sound. He's very, very particular about the piano, especially, which makes perfect sense. World-renowned piano player and composer, of course, he wants the piano to sound a certain way. Am I going to tell him it should sound a different way? Some guy? I don't think so. Nope, he knows how it's going to sound. So the library that we went with, or that he recommended to me, was CFX by Garriton, I believe it is. And we can get really, really nice sound. Okay, and it's interesting because it is not it's not inexpensive. This is the light version of the library. It's not a high-end piano library, so for its price, it sounds really good. And I think in particular it works really well for this style of music, jazz, blues, kind of sound. It works really, really well. It sits in the mix really, really well. Whereas I think all of my piano libraries are primarily from Native Instruments. They're designed more for cinematic stuff, which is primarily what I do. So that's, now I probably, if I spent long enough, I could probably get a pretty close sound to what he wanted. But at the end of the day, this is the sound he liked. This is the sound he wanted. So it just made more sense. Okay, well, let's stick with that sound. So messed around with the settings. He sent me some screenshots, got it sounding exactly the way that he wanted it to sound. And that was the piano. Now, the only other issue that I've had with and it doesn't happen all the time, but for some reason, the piano MIDI mapping doesn't fire correctly when I'm dragging the MIDI files over into the new sample library. I have no idea why this is doing this, by the way. So there's been a lot of kind of copying and pasting and me taking other notes and making sure that all the notes. So the piano parts, I go through every single note, both the right hand, left hand, very, very carefully. Make sure every single note is sounding properly. For some reason, some of them don't. I have no idea why. I don't know if it's a glitch. I don't know if it's a logic thing. I have no idea. It doesn't do it for every track. It is what it is. I found a workaround, and I've managed to make it work very, very quickly and, again, efficiently to get it done. So there you go. So then I replace those parts, and I can take those out. And then it's just a matter of mixing and balancing. Okay. So for a track like this, luckily I didn't have to add, there we go. Added some reverb, again, Valhalla, on the drums just to make them sit in there. I left the rest as is. Okay. So a lot of these samples have reverb already in there. Okay, so the piano parts were using the existing reverb in the piano plugin itself because it sounded really good. So I left that as is. So I'm not going to add more reverb to that. It's already there. The more reverb you add, the more clarity that you lose. Okay, so you got to be very careful with it. For the strings, Spitfire Audio strings, I almost never add external reverb because you're using the mic positions with those ambient, those tree mics to get that, you're getting real reverb. You're getting the reverb from the original recordings. So do we need to add more? No, we don't. You just need to get it sit right in the mix. And then we have the bass. Again, I left that as is. I think I used a bass amp plugin for that, which I might have actually taken from the original bass part plugin. I like the way it sounded. I just replaced the sample. Lots of EQing going on for some of these projects. Sometimes I've had to EQ. As you can see, there was some EQ that was added, but then I actually took it away for the piano parts. I think there was one song I worked on that we wanted a little bit more clarity, and I just needed a little bit EQ just to push the piano through a little bit more. This one I didn't need it, so I took it out. And so a lot of balancing with the faders, riding the faders until I get it sounding really, really good. Always revisiting the original mix so that you can, again, really hear how everything's balanced and mixed together. And then I run it through the final thing with my ozone. And so what I'll do now is I'll play the original mix again. And then right after, I'll play my mix, and then you can hear the difference. Now, maybe to the average person, you're going to be like, it sounds a little bit different. To me, it's like night and day. And I think if you have really good headphones and you're listening to this, you listen to it a couple times, you're going to be like, okay, yeah, bigger, fuller, more alive, more crisp, more sharp. So anyway, let your ears be the judge. So here's the original mix again. Okay, make sure yeah, there we go. Valhalla is off. Okay, so that's the original mix. Now I'm going to make sure that I mute that channel, and you're going to hear my mix, and then I'm going to throw my ozone plugin on there, and this is the final mix. Okay, so there you have it, my friends. Okay, so again, is it a huge, massive difference? Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. Maybe I'm being, maybe my opinion is biased, but again, it's just taking, I'm not taking anything away from the original programming, because the original programming is done so well, and the parts are written so well that it's almost like an art restoration is what it is. Like you take like an old painting that's kind of gotten dull over the years and you restore it. That's kind of how I'm approaching this project. And I'm really enjoying it, and I think I'm learning a lot about it, and I'm getting a lot better. And so far, Mr. Norton has been very, very happy with the results. So it's going really well. I get paid for playing with samples and mixing, and this is what I love doing. Now, Mr. Norton and I have at least one other project on the go together, a collaborative composition project, which we're trying to fit in between. Of course, he's got his hands in all kinds of other things. So hopefully I'll be doing a video on that process soon. And that's a lot of fun, because then it's actually, me getting back into the composing. I enjoy both. I can enjoy, producing, mixing, and I enjoy composing. And sometimes it's nice to separate those two things and work on different projects. It gives me a little break from having to come up with a song idea when I'm, mixing or working on somebody else's stuff, and then composing. It's like, well, it's a joy and it's a passion to do. So, so lots on the go, and I'm loving every minute of it. And I hope you found this interesting. And this is another way, I guess, of a composer or a mixer or a sound engineer or whatever, somebody who likes playing with samples and trusts their ears. This is another kind of project. There are there's lots of work out there, believe it or not. You got to go and find it. People taking if you have those old MIDI files and you need it to sound better and fresher and newer, guess what? This is what we do, right? This is what people pay us to do. So we'll have some final thoughts, and we'll catch you in the next one. And thanks for sticking around. So what can be learned from this other than, I guess, advice that I've been offered from many different, artists and composers. Brian Fennell of Simmel, one of the questions I asked him was, advice he had for, artists trying to make it. And, it was simple and to the point. It was like, share your music with the internet. And I've been doing a whole lot of that these days. YouTube has been extremely instrumental and fundamental in my recent success. And I hope that it continues. I've been meeting lots of different composers, lots of different artists. I love doing this, and I enjoy all the comments. Please leave comments. There's a lot of you have been providing very, very positive feedback. And I hope that these videos help you. I hope they become inspiration to you, that you just never really know where your song or where your video is going to end up. But if it's on your hard drive and you're not sharing stuff with people, it's not going to go anywhere. So you got to get out there. You got to put yourself out there. And YouTube, while I have a small but steadily growing following, thank you, YouTubers, already I've been finding success in that small number of followers. So the numbers, do they really mean that much at the end of the day? My kids joke about all of their, big time artists that they follow, and they have millions and millions of subscribers, and they drop a video on a Friday, and within an hour it's already had like a gazillion views. So when one of my videos gets like 20 views, I'm like, woo, I'm all excited. And they're like, they're daddy, they're making fun of me. But it's not really about the numbers. It's about who comes across that video or that song that you're doing. It just takes one person, and that, like in this situation, is leading to work that I really enjoy. It's mixing, producing work. And we're also going to be working on, a joint composition project. So what can I say? I mean, that's an incredible opportunity and something that I really don't take for granted. So special thanks to Gloria St. Germain from Winnipeg. I don't know if it was through that meeting that this whole thing came about. I'm sure that was a big part of it. And thank you to Mr. Norton for trusting me with your music. And so far, so good. Maybe I'll do another video a little bit later on in the process and let you guys know how it's going. So get your music out there, share it with the internet. Great advice from Brian Fennell, Simmel, and share it with as many people as you can. All right, get out there, do your stuff, stay safe.